Ancient humans were not hypercarnivores. This is something that's been perpetuated as a myth. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today, but a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like down below, be greatly appreciated. If you're not subscribed or following, please feel free to do so. And if you would drop me a comment down below, please let me know. Tell me if I'm wrong. First of all, if you actually think Homo erectus was a human, and then by all means let me know. But if not, then say, yeah, you're right. And the other problem we have with this is the whole hypercarnivore thing that the university in Tel Aviv came up with. More recently, in the last couple of years, other researchers have said, yeah, we don't know this for a fact. You guys are really speculating. And some of them are saying they probably did eat a large amount of meat, definitely proof of that, but they had to have eaten plants still. They were obviously omnivores, all this stuff, right? There's a lot of debate on this topic. But here's the other problem. This keeps being cited, right, because of this one major study done in Tel Aviv, Israel, where they determined this, and you now see all these really extreme carnivore types and the ketovore types, and other people keep pushing this narrative as if it's the way that we should eat. So again, let's set aside first the appeal to nature, which is ludicrous, you know. If we're going to use it meant to be what is it natural, then using an antibiotic to not die or having air conditioning in your home is bad, right? You understand that. But let's step over and really think about the problem with this. We're not talking about a species that made it to 50 years old. We're not talking about an intelligent, by human standards, species. Please note that I'm saying species. I'm not calling it human. I personally consider our species, Homo sapien, to be human. I don't consider other things to be a human personally. So Homo erectus was not a human in the sense that we would think of. In other words, if you saw them, you would not recognize them as a human. You would be like, is this a really weird chimp? Is this a chimpanzee and a human have a baby together? Is what you would be thinking. So people are thinking of this like, oh yeah, it's human, but it's like, this is a creature that's like 4 feet tall, right? 3.5, 4 feet tall, has an average lifespan of 30 years old, okay? And did not have the intellectual ability or the brain structures of the brain yet to develop the intelligence to speak. So this is a creature, they could communicate with each other in certain ways. They did not even have speech. It's not intelligent enough to talk. All right. Most even of the slower people, barring something like non-speech autism, but they still have the ability to. They have the physical ability. Even slower humans, right? Humans who are functioning well below normal cognitive levels can still talk. They're still capable of sentence structure and communication in this manner. This is an animal that was not intelligent enough to even talk. It's like half our size that lived to be 30 years old. Okay? Is this your model for what you want to say is our nutrition? What you should eat is based upon something that didn't live past 30 years old. Okay, this seems a little strange to me. This is extremely strange to make this statement. Well, we're meant to be hypercarnivores because of a species that's now dead. A species that hasn't existed in hundreds of thousands of years, that lived to be 30 years old, that was not intelligent enough, did not develop the brain capacity yet to talk. Because one university has determined they were hypercarnivores, which is a point of major debate, right? We got a problem because, again, they're calling it that, but then they all still ate plants, and that's the strangest part when we look at ancient humans. When people try to pretend that ancient humans didn't eat plants, they didn't eat grains, particularly the plants and the tubers. Like we were our species, Homo sapien, when you go really look at it, were driven by starch. Starch was their highest source of calories. Okay? They ate plants, they ate roots, they dug up roots, they ate grains in large amounts, however they could find them. They ate anything they could find. So, people want to look at try to look at historical eating patterns. And again, I don't appeal to nature. I don't say that, hey, because we ate this, this is what we should eat. Because I don't want to dig up tubers all day and eat bugs and everything else. Just not my interest. I don't even think that's optimal. But if you really want to look at what humans ate, ancient humans before we had agriculture, before we had agriculture, that's still what they ate. It was still starches. And we pretty much are sure of this. Yes, they ate any animals they could. We were cooked food omnivores. Like, we cooked most of our food because a lot of the foods couldn't be fully digested, so they cooked it. Okay? They cooked it. They cooked the meat. They cooked most of the plants. All right? But all of our ancestors ate a very, very high plant, very high fiber diet based on everything that we can tell. I mean, we have limited knowledge of this, really. We know they would have eaten tons of bugs. They ate everything they could find. In fact, if we take that eating pattern, modern fat people follow the same eating pattern. They literally eat everything they can get their hands on. They literally eat everything they can get their hands on. That's what our ancestors did back then. This is why agriculture mattered. There was a struggle just to get enough food. They ate everything. But again, this idea that using the Homo erectus is insane. And again, keep in mind, that was one university came out with this, and it was a major deal. But it's been contested. Like, others just said, yeah, you don't really have evidence of that. This is, yes, they obviously ate meat, but it wasn't their primary source of calories. And, again, there's only so much they had access to. And then the thing is, when we look at agriculture, what do we see? This is when population grew. This is when civilization grew. When agriculture occurred, we now were able to form real towns. We saw the average lifespan go up. We see the population go up. Okay? So the point is, civilization technically lives longer, has higher populations, lower infant mortality, longer lifespans than any of these hunter-gatherers anyways. So again, it's an argument of absurdity, right? As if this is how we should eat. But again, the idea of using another species that one university says is a hyper-carnivore to justify your fad diet is insane.